Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video, and this is going to be a first impressions video on this new for 2016 K-Bar Jarosz. So let's quickly, let me give you sort of an overall impression of this knife. That'll kind of be the theme of the video, and then we'll get into the features. So my feeling on this, as I've had it, as I've felt it in hand and done a little bit of cutting with it and stuff like that, is that what we have here is an EDC that is just kind of one step above. It's just a little overbuilt, a little hefty, and designed to be, the kind of EDC that we can flex into some tougher tasks, even a little bit of prying. As you see, that's pretty thick blade stock there, some bushcraft stuff, those kinds of things that we wouldn't normally maybe want to do with our EDC, but I think this one is kind of designed to take a little more punishment. So let's go ahead and tell you why I think that as we kind of go through some of the features and materials and stuff like that. Okay, so knife overall is 8 inches in length, 3.5 inch blade, 4.5 inch handle. It's a full 5/8 of an inch thick, which is a little thick for an EDC folder, but that's kind of what I've been driving at, where it's just a little thicker in a lot of places and a little bigger and a little overbuilt overall. And the weight on this is a pretty hefty 5.6 ounces. And that weight stands out maybe even more if you consider the fact that this knife is only 8 inches. Remember, we're not talking about a 9-inch blade or a 10-inch or anything like that. This is only 8 inches. And so that weight is a little up there, I would suggest. Again, everything is pretty heavily built. So as we get into some of these features, we'll start out with the Aussate A blade, stonewash finish, fairly thin hollow grind, which I do really like. You can see the blade stock on that is pretty thick stock, okay? And one of the things I like about a hollow grind is the fact that you can get that thick stock and still get really fine edge geometry. And so you get a good combination of strength and slicing power. So really nice. The pivot here, or let's just kind of move down the blade. Stainless steel liner lock, of course, and those liners are fairly thick, once again, leading to my overall impressions of this knife as sort of an overbuilt but easily carryable EDC folder. All right. The jimping here, or there is jimping here, and it does create a nice comfortable spot for your thumb with that thicker blade. So you've got GFN handles, which essentially is, like Cold Steel's Grivery or Spyderco's FRN, or there's a few other brand names or names for this, but essentially it's like reinforced nylon or reinforced plastic. Tip up or tip down right side carry on the pocket clip. I will say there's no meaningful texturing on here. It's actually pretty smooth, although it's the handle shape that primarily gives you any kind of grip. I'll have a lot more to say about that, of course, in the full review. You can see that there's no milling here of any kind, okay, but it is a fairly thick steel liner on both sides. One other thing, everything is Torx bit construction on this, except look at that pivot. That is sort of a proprietary thing, and you'd need a spanner tool to deal with that. I will maybe send a quick email to K-Bar and see what the likelihood is of getting my hands on one of those spanner tools. And again, I will know more about that when we get to the full review. So overall, I think we've got just a pretty cool little utility fixed folder here. I do think it's designed for some pretty hard work. And I do think it's a different enough, sort of interesting enough design that you're going to see these a fair amount of interest in these. I actually really like the way it looks. I like the way it feels in hand. I like most of the, pretty well everything that I've done with it up to this point has functioned well. Okay, so there you go, guys. Not a bad little offering, and I will say I'll have more on this when I get to the full review. Let me point out in closing, just so you know, if you're Googling this, there is a Tanto version. I think it's the 7506, and there's also a fixed blade that's maybe a year or two old from K-Bar. So if you're Googling this, you either have to put in like the model number, so maybe say, K-Bar Jarosz 7505 or Jarosz folder or something like that, to sort of let the powers of the internet know that you're looking for the folder, not the fixed blade. By the way, the fixed blade looks pretty cool as well. Okay guys, there you go. That's my current thinking on the early days of using this K-Bar Jarosz. And again, more to come as I want to do a full review of this, as well as I'd like to do a comparison between this and the Ontario Rat Model 1. Talk to you later.